It's funny. Just before we started recording today, I was running around like an absolute maniac.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I literally walked to the coffee shop. Well, no, the bookstore down the street to buy a book for my mother. But then I looked at my watch and realized the time, so I had to sprint all the way back to the studio to prep for this exact conversation with you.
Wow.
And honestly, my heart is still pounding. I'm practically out of breath.
Well, it sounds like a wildly chaotic morning. But pause for a second and just listen to the mechanics of that very sentence you naturally constructed while trying to explain your chaos.
The mechanics. You mean the part where I clearly need to work on my cardio?
No, I mean the invisible scaffolding holding your morning together. You walked to the bookstore to buy a book for your mother to prep for this conversation.
Oh, wow.
Right, you just navigated one of the most notoriously tricky, booby-trapped landscapes in the English language without even thinking about it. You used to, and for perfectly.
I didn't even notice that. I did lean pretty heavily on those two tiny words, didn't I?
You really did. They are the absolute workhorses of English. And yet, for so many people, especially international professionals operating in English, or really anyone just trying to write a precise, bulletproof email, these two words are a minefield.
Yeah, they really are.
And that is exactly what our mission is today. We're looking at a brilliant set of grammar notes, a compilation titled Octavio.pdf that completely decodes the exact underlying logic of to and for.
And I want to set the record straight right now for you listening at home.
Yeah.
This is not some dusty grammar lecture.
Definitely not.
We are not here to diagram sentences on a chalkboard or memorize Latin terms. We are here to decode human intent.
Right.
Because when you dive into this material, you quickly realize that choosing between to and for isn't about, following an arbitrary rule in a textbook.
Right.
It is about how you signal your empathy, your authority, and your perspective to the rest of the world. By the end of this deep dive, you are never going to stare at a blinking cursor and second-guess that important email again.
Exactly. It's fundamentally about clarity and power. Because when you master these words, you master the ability to be perfectly understood. You control the narrative.
Okay, let's unpack this. The material gives us a fantastic foundational rule to start with. It's the basic divide between these two words.
Yeah, the core rule.
And it really comes down to looking at the reason why you were doing something. Are you doing it because of an action, or are you doing it because of a thing or a person?
Right. The underlying logic is elegantly simple once you see it. If your reason is an action, a verb, you use to plus the infinitive verb.
Okay.
If your reason is a noun, so a physical thing or a person, you use for.
So the classic example here is, I went to the store to buy milk.
Yes.
The reason I went is the action of buying, therefore to buy. But if I change the focus...
If you remove the action, if you just focus on the object itself, the entire structure changes. You say, I went to the store for milk.
Right, because milk is a noun.
Exactly. Milk is a noun. It's a thing. So it takes for.
I was thinking about this before we sat down, and the best way I can picture it in my head is to think of to as a highway.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's a road that leads directly to an action verb. You're traveling to do something.
Mm-hmm.
But for is like a basket. It's a container that holds a noun, a physical object, or a person you are carrying around in your intent. Highway versus basket.
That is a highly effective visual because it captures the psychology of the words. To is inherently dynamic.
Dynamic.
Yeah, it implies momentum. It's a vector pointing directly toward a subsequent action that hasn't happened yet. You are moving along the highway toward the act of buying.
Right, you haven't bought it yet.
Exactly. For, on the other hand, is much more static. The basket is a perfect metaphor because for is focused on the object of desire itself.
So you already have it in mind.
Yes, you are already mentally holding the milk. The action of getting it is secondary to the existence of the thing itself.
It makes total sense. To has this forward traveling energy, but hang on, let me challenge that logic for a second.
Yeah.
If to is dynamic and it's a highway pointing toward an action, how does it handle physical space and time? Because we use these words for those concepts too, and those aren't verbs.
That's a great observation, and the material lays out very strict boundaries for this that actually align perfectly with your highway analogy.
Okay, lay on me.
Let's look at physical destination. If you are traveling along that highway, to acts as your compass pinpointing the end of the road. You say, go to London.
Right.
You never use for to indicate a geographic direction or destination.
Well, yeah, if I told you I'm going for London, you'd look at me like I was entering a jousting tournament on behalf of the city.
Exactly. You'd be their champion. But for travel, to gives you the precise destination. And this spatial logic translates perfectly into how we discuss time.
Because time is like space.
Right. Time is just a landscape we move through. So when we talk about a specific point in time, a destination on the clock face, we use to. We say, it is 10 to 6.
Ah, so you were pointing directly at that number 6. It's a destination in time.
Precisely. You are on the highway, heading towards 6 o'clock. But what happens when you aren't talking about a point in time, but a span of time, like a duration?
Then we bring back the basket we use for,
Yes.
like, I waited for 2 hours. You are scooping up those 2 hours, those units of time, and putting them in your basket.
Yes, you are holding them. Now, what's fascinating here is another application of this pinpointing behavior of to. It shows up when we express preferences, which trips people up constantly.
Oh, preferences are tricky.
They are. The rule is that you use to when comparing two things you prefer. Like, I prefer tea to coffee.
Okay, I have to push back hard here. Does anyone actually say that in real life outside of a British period drama?
Well,
Like, if I'm at a diner, I'm going to say I prefer tea over coffee, or I like tea more than coffee. If I say prefer tea to coffee, am I just being a massive grammar snob?
it might sound slightly formal to the modern ear, I'll give you that, but there is a profound mechanical reason why it's correct and why it matters in professional writing. Think about to as establishing a spatial relationship.
Okay.
It pinpoints. When you say prefer tea to coffee, you are placing tea closer to you on your mental map and coffee further away.
Oh, I see.
Right? More than works perfectly for the verb like, but prefer already contains the concept of comparison. Adding more than is redundant. You just need to point at the winner.
The winner on the map. Okay, I see the underlying logic there. To always identifies a precise pinpoint. It's a city on a map, London. It's a minute on a clock, 6 o'clock. It's the favored drink on a menu T. It points.
Yes.
For, however, measures the space, the duration, or the effort between the points. It's the 2 hours you waited in your basket. It's the milk you brought back.
Exactly. You are mastering the physics of these words.
But wait, let's do a thought experiment.
Yeah.
If to points to a destination like a city or a time, what happens when the destination isn't a place on a map, but a living, breathing person? Like, how is giving a book to you different from, say, carrying a bag for you? Because physically, the end result is exactly the same. The object ends up with the person. Why does the language treat those two actions so differently?
This right here is where we cross from simple grammar into the deep psychology of human interaction. The material makes a crucial, fundamental distinction here between a direct transfer and what we call a favor or a benefit.
Okay, let's look at direct transfer first. How does that work?
Direct transfer is purely logistical. It's sterile. Think of the examples. Give it to me. Or, I wrote a letter to him. In these cases, the person at the end of the sentence is just a physical recipient.
They're just the endpoint.
Literally just the destination coordinate for the object. The letter traveled from point A to point B.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. I like to call this the postman versus the proxy analogy.
Ooh, go on.
When you use to, you are just the postman. You have an item, you walk up to the destination, and you drop it off. I gave the book to you. I transferred the physical matter from my hand to yours. My job is done. I don't necessarily care about you. I just care about the delivery.
The postman.
Yeah.
That perfectly captures the transactional nature of it. It's emotionally neutral.
But for is entirely different. For is acting as a proxy. You are stepping into someone else's shoes.
Yes.
Like, do it for me, or I wrote a letter for him. The implication is that I wrote the letter in his place, as a favor, because maybe he was busy or he couldn't do it himself. I am acting as his proxy. I am taking on his burden.
And notice how that completely shifts the intention of the speaker. Look at your other example. I'll carry the bags for you. You aren't just delivering the bags to the person like a postman.
No.
You're taking the physical burden of the bags away from them to save them effort. You are providing a benefit.
It is a massive shift in empathy.
It really is. Now, I want you to picture your own daily life for a second. Imagine you are drafting an email to a colleague or your boss.
Okay, I'm at my desk.
If you write, I sent the report to you. It's just a status update. The transaction is complete. The postman delivered the mail.
Right. It's purely informational. I did the thing.
But if you write, I finished the report for you, the subtext is entirely different. You are signaling that you took something off their plate. You exerted effort on their behalf. You provided a benefit.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Confusing those two, or just defaulting to to all the time, can mean the difference between sounding like a cold, automated robot and sounding like an indispensable, supportive team player.
It changes everything. Yeah. A two-letter preposition dictates the entire power dynamic and emotional resonance of a sentence. It's the difference between doing your job and being a lifesaver.
And that proxy concept, doing something for someone to give them a tangible benefit, naturally leads to how we view ourselves. If for is about a tangible benefit to another person, it works exactly the same way when we talk about our own lives and bodies.
Yes. This is the perception versus impact dynamic. Or, as I prefer to think of it, the mind versus the body.
The rules for describing yourself are incredibly specific, and people mix them up constantly. Let's take to me first. We use to me strictly for opinions. It indicates your personal perception, your subjective worldview.
So if I say, that jacket seems expensive to me.
Exactly. It is entirely subjective. Someone else with a different salary might think it's an absolute bargain. You are expressing a mental calculation. It lives entirely in your mind.
But then we have for me.
Yeah.
And for me is used for something that has a literal impact or an effect on you, a tangible benefit or harm.
Eating healthy is good for me. Smoking is bad for me.
And that is exactly why I call it the mind versus the body. To me, lives in your brain. It's just your opinion, and opinions can be dismissed.
Right.
But for me, it lives in your body. It's your well-being, your physical reality. Eating healthy has a literal biological benefit for your cells. It's an objective fact, not a subjective opinion.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of how you communicate at work, confusing these two can severely undercut your authority.
Really? How so?
Well, imagine you are in a meeting presenting a new operational strategy. If you say, "This new software looks good to me," you've accidentally reduced a factual operational benefit into a mere subjective opinion.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, you sound like you're just sharing a feeling. The boss can say, "Well, it doesn't look good to me," and your argument is dead.
Wow. You just shot yourself in the foot with a preposition.
Exactly. But if you say, "This new software is good for us," you are claiming a tangible, measurable impact. You are stating a fact about a benefit. That tiny word does the heavy lifting of establishing your authority on the matter. It takes the debate out of the realm of opinion and into the realm of measurable reality.
That is incredibly subtle,
Yeah.
but so powerful. Okay, so for me, describes a biological or tangible benefit to my body or my team. But what about the stuff we hold in our hands? The tools we use, do they follow that same benefit rule or something else?
They follow a very similar logic, but it's framed as general function versus specific use. It's about how we describe the world around us.
Right. If you want to describe the general universal function of an object, you use for plus an exing verb. Like, an iPhone is for making calls and browsing.
But if you want to describe the specific use, what you personally are doing with it right now, you use to plus the base verb, "I use my iPhone to check my emails."
It's the difference between the blueprint and the application. Let me do a vibe check with you here.
Okay.
Does using for plus ing sound to you like you are literally reading from a detached user manual, like a knife is for cutting? Who talks like that? But to plus verb sounds like you are telling a personal story. I grabbed a knife to cut the rope.
I completely agree with that distinction. You don't talk to your spouse like a user manual. For defines the object's universal purpose. It is the reason the object was manufactured. It exists in the abstract.
Yeah.
To defines your immediate personal intent in the moment. It brings the object into your personal narrative. You are applying your will to the object to achieve a goal.
It's amazing how logical all of this is when you really break it down. You have the highway and the basket, the destination and the duration, the postman and the proxy, the mind and the body, the user manual and the personal story. It all makes perfect mathematical sense.
It does, until it absolutely doesn't.
Right. Because as much as we love logic, English is fundamentally a chaotic language stitched together from the remnants of history, stolen vocabulary, and cultural accidents. And there's a whole category of traps hidden in the language that completely defy the highway and basket logic.
The rule breakers and the false friends.
Yes, the fixed prepositions. And they're brutal for learners, especially those translating directly from Romance languages like Portuguese or Spanish. Your intuition completely betrays you because the literal translation is wrong.
Let's explore why that happens. In many languages, the verb attaches directly to the object. But English demands a bridge. You cannot just listen music. You must listen to music.
You wait for the bus. not wait the bus.
You apologize for the mistake, not apologize the mistake.
It belongs to me, not belong me.
And you ask for help, not ask help.
Why do native speakers of Romance languages struggle so much with that specific one? Like, ask help makes logical sense to me. You are requesting the thing.
Because in their native tongue, the verb to ask implies the request inherently. In English, ask is just the act of opening your mouth and posing a question. The for is the basket you are holding out, waiting for someone to drop the help into it. You are asking in order to receive the basket of help.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Okay, but then we get to a category of verbs that I see even native speakers mangle in corporate settings all the time. The communication verbs: explain, describe, and introduce. The rule here is incredibly strict. They always require to before the person.
Always. You will hear people say, explain me this. That is grammatically incorrect and it sounds terribly clunky. It must be, explain this to me.
But wait, why does explain me feel so wrong when give me is perfectly fine? Give me the report works. Why not explain me the report?
Because of what is being transferred. When you give something, you are transferring a physical object. The person can receive it directly. But when you explain something, you are transferring an abstract concept. You cannot attach a person directly to the verb explain because you are not explaining the person. You're explaining a concept and you are pointing that concept at the person. You have to build the directional bridge with to.
You are pointing the information at them. The same goes for introduce. You don't introduce me, Sarah. You introduce Sarah to my boss.
Oh, yeah.
You need that directional pointing that to provides. You're pointing Sarah at your boss.
Precisely. But then, just when you think you have it figured out, English throws a massive curveball with the verbs say and tell.
Oh, this one is maddening. Say hello to your mother. You need the to. It's a communication verb. We are pointing the hello at the mother. If you use tell your mother hello. No preposition at all. The word to just vanishes into thin air. Why?
Because tell is inherently targeted. When you say something, you are just releasing words into the air. I said hello. The words are floating there. If you want them to hit a target, you need to as a vector.
Okay.
But tell already includes the target in its DNA. You cannot tell the empty air. You must tell a person. So the preposition is baked into the verb itself.
Wow.
Oh.
Okay. That actually does make logical sense. But there's one final paradox in this material that defies all logic. Earlier, we established the absolute unbreakable foundational rule, to is followed by the base verb. The highway leads to an action: to buy, to run, to check.
The great highway of the infinitive.
Right. But there are exceptions where to is inexplicably followed by an ing verb, the to plus ing paradox. And you just have to commit these to memory. The biggest offender in every professional email: I look forward to meeting you, not to meet you.
I am used to waking up early, not to wake up.
And he objects to working on weekends, not to work.
This raises an important question. If they break the fundamental rules we just spent 20 minutes discussing, why do we use them? Are they just mistakes that became permanent?
Just to torture people trying to learn the language.
It certainly feels that way, but the truth is, in these specific phrases, the amak word isn't acting as a verb anymore. It's acting as a noun. It's a gerund.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. The act of meeting you becomes a conceptual object. You are looking forward to the concept of the meeting. But beyond the grammatical explanation, these are historical pairings. They are relics of how the language evolved over centuries. When you were learning these, you were being forced to memorize the music of the phrase rather than the math of the grammar.
The music of the phrase. I absolutely love that. You have to stop analyzing it with a calculator and just listen to the rhythm of look forward to meeting. It has a bounce, a cadence to it that look forward to meet completely lacks. It sounds wrong to the ear before it sounds wrong to the brain.
Precisely. Once you internalize the music of the language, you start having to think about the mathematical rules.
So what does this all mean? We've covered a tremendous amount of ground today, navigating the twists and turns of these two tiny words. If we zoom out and look at the whole landscape, what is the grand takeaway from this deep dive?
I think your earlier analogy holds up perfectly as the ultimate framework. To is your compass. It is your tool for indicating direction, dynamic forward actions, specific pinpoints in physical space and time, and your own subjective opinion. It points the way.
And for is your container. It is the basket that holds nouns. It scoops up and measures durations of time. It holds the tangible biological benefits things have on your body. And perhaps most importantly for navigating human relationships, it holds your empathy when you act as a proxy and do something on behalf of someone else.
Mastering these two seemingly insignificant words is genuinely the ultimate shortcut to sounding clear, authoritative, and empathetic in your daily life. They aren't just grammar rules, they are the micro adjustments that completely calibrate your professional and personal communication.
They really are. You start noticing them everywhere once you know what the invisible scaffolding looks like. And I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you go about your day. We've talked a lot about the mechanics today, about how 2 points at a destination and how 4 indicates a tangible benefit.
The postman delivering the mail versus the proxy taking away the burden.
Exactly. But let's take that grammar and apply it directly to how we view our own lives. We all face challenges, setbacks, and moments where things just completely fall apart. And our default grammar in those moments of crisis is almost always to.
Yeah.
We look at the sky and say, why is this happening to me?
Oh, wow.
Right. We position ourselves as the destination for the hardship. We are just the helpless recipient of the bad news. The postman dropped off a terrible package.
We make ourselves the endpoint of a negative vector. We strip ourselves of agency.
Right. But if 4 indicates a benefit, an effort made on your behalf to give you something of value, what happens to our entire worldview when we stop believing that bad things happen to us and start asking how they might be happening for us? What if that hardship is actually a basket holding a hidden benefit, a lesson, or an opportunity?
That changes the entire sentence of your life.
It really does. It's just 2 little letters, but it changes everything. Until next time, keep exploring.